This is not a done deal yet. So again, we don't want to get over our skis, but we do want to report the latest and figure out what it would mean. So could this signal a change in approach from Israel? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected earlier ceasefires and hostage release deals. So what's changed, and will it make a difference? Joining us now is Clifford May, founder and president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. I should note they do back Israel in this fight. Thank you for being here, Cliff. What does the structure of this deal, broken into, let's say, multiple parts, what would that tell you about Israel's thinking here?
Well, Israel wants to get the hostages out. It wants to get the hostages out, not just because President Biden does, though he's right to, but keep in mind what the conditions under which these hostages have been living since they were forcibly abducted, many of them wounded and dragged out of their country and into a tunnel over the past 45 days or so. Keep in mind the suffering of their families, not knowing whether they'll ever see them again. So Israel very much wants to get as many hostages out as it possibly can, and they're willing to make some sacrifices. And this is not a fair deal. Israel is going to give up prisoners who were convicted in a court of law. Israel is going to cease firing for a number of days, and that will give Hamas a chance to regroup, to attempt to rearm, plan to kill more Israelis. But getting hostages out is very much an imperative. I do want you to keep in mind that if Hamas wanted to end the suffering of Gazans tomorrow, Hamas could do that. All they would need to do is come out of their tunnels, bring the hostages with them in tow, and wave little white flags and say it's over, and then it would be over. Hamas doesn't want to do this. There was a ceasefire on October 6th, as you will recall. It was broken by an invasion and by a mass murder and by mass rapes and the abduction of babies and the beheading of babies. That's the situation we're in.
It's a worthwhile reminder there, Cliff. And, I do want people at home to know that I'm aware of circulating reports of the cabinet in Israel approving this, that this could be moving ahead. We're waiting for official word before we go out with that news. But it does seem this is forging ahead right now, Cliff. Why would Israel give up so many more prisoners than Hamas? Again, they were the ones who were attacked. Why not say, one prisoner for one hostage?
Because Israel is a small country, and they value the lives of Israelis, and they value the lives of others who have come to Israel to work. There are people from many nationalities who were there, some because they found employment, some because they wanted to go to a music festival, some because they were visiting friends or relatives. The Israelis value these lives. The Israelis, unlike Hamas, do not use human beings as shields, which is something that Hamas does, and Hamas is proud of it. It's not my interpretation. Hamas says, yes, of course, that's the job of people in Gaza, is to shield us. And if they become martyrs for the cause we're fighting for, well, we're proud of them, and they should be proud of themselves. So the Israelis, and this is long-standing, the Israelis have been willing to accept unfair deals because every life that they save, they consider to be important.
Cliff, I did note where your organization stands in relation to, Israel in this. And we know the U.S. government has been pushing Israel, take the deal, get people out, pause things, get in humanitarian aid. But I wonder when we're talking about this, if, you could just tell me your thoughts, because much of the world's demanding a ceasefire, not only now, but in the long run. Is it being kept in perspective that these sides are not equal, that Hamas, they're the ones who kidnapped innocent people, they killed babies, they stole babies, grandmas, they killed and stole grandmas. But some people are talking about the deal like, this is two equal sides. You got to just, hash something out, and it's a normal swap.
Yeah, let me be clear about the position my organization takes. We are very much anti-Hamas. We are very much anti-terrorist. We also oppose Vladimir Putin, who is trying to subjugate the people of Ukraine. We also oppose plans by Xi Jinping to subjugate the people of Taiwan. What Hamas wants is not to subjugate the people of Israel. It wants to exterminate the people of Israel. That's called genocide. We oppose genocide as an organization. I would think most of your listeners do as well. What Hamas did was a sort of small Holocaust. They came into Israel, they sold people at a concert, people unarmed, and they slaughtered them. They slaughtered children. What they did was, we would like to see the Palestinians under a good leadership, a leadership that cared about its people, a leadership that was not intent on terrorism and intent on genocide. But I don't think, I think Hamas has now proven conclusively that it cannot be in power unless we think that it's okay for genocidal terrorists to be in power. We're talking about the two sides. We're talking about Israel and Hamas. We're not talking about Israel and the Palestinians. I just want to make that very clear to you, Chance.
I understand. And so looking to the future then, Cliff, do you see a scenario in which all 200 plus hostages are eventually released voluntarily? Because I guess in that eventuality, Hamas gives up considerable leverage too.
Hamas won't give up anything voluntarily. They won't give up hostages voluntarily. I think realistically, we don't expect all the hostages to get out. We don't know how many of the hostages are still alive. We don't know where a lot of the hostages are. Hamas will use the hostages for leverage, and it will use the hostages for what it wants. And what it wants is to regroup and maybe stay to fight another day. Hamas has said very clearly, people like Ghazi Hamid has said, we want to do what we did on 10/7 again and again and again. That's what they'll do if they're allowed to. So we'll see how this works out. We'll see if hostages get out. That's wonderful for them and for their families, and that's a good thing. But this is not. That's why this is only a ceasefire, not an end to hostilities, because I don't think the Israelis can allow Hamas to once again rule Gaza and rule Palestinians. And if Palestinians didn't understand before what Hamas meant to their lives, now they should know nothing that has happened in Gaza is not the fault of Hamas. They brought this on.
Thank you, Cliff. A critical moment and an important zoom out here as well. Cliff May with FDD. Appreciate it.